Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here. I have a special edition of the off-season hurricane outlook and discussion. Obviously not hurricane season, but I do produce video discussions when we have big-ticket weather events coming up. And usually we talk about something related to the tropics and the upcoming hurricane season. But this time, it's all about the winter weather that we're going to have. Nor'easters, not tropical in nature. They are extratropical storms, mid-latitude storm systems, but they do have coastal impacts, and that's what we're going to have here in the next few days as a piece of energy drops down out of Canada and forms a surface low. It doesn't do all this. This is just me drawing. In fact, let's start over so I can get it right. The energy will come down sort of round the corner here, surface low forms, and then moves off something like this over the next several days, maybe even pinwheeling back up towards the Gulf of Maine. But the end result is going to be a very big, potent winter storm. Coastal flooding, minor to moderate, and big-time snows. Going to make up for the warm February that we had at least past mid-month when things warmed up after that series of storms moved through New England, and I was up there for one of those near Valentine's Day. But after that, everything really warmed up and thawed out, and that has made the trees go into bloom here across a good deal of the southeast. And after this storm system exits the scene, cold air is going to pour in behind that out of Canada, and there's going to be some problems with agricultural concerns here in the southeast. But the more immediate concern is what's going to happen, especially for the I-95 corridor up here, these big cities of the Northeast, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York City, along Long Island, and then into Boston and the southern, southeast New England states. This is going to be a big deal. So let's take a look at the three different regions that I have selected. First is out of the Philadelphia, Mount Holly, New Jersey area. And these are these briefings that they put out to kind of boil it down for you in pretty good layman's terms as to what is going to happen. Now, this one was done at 5 a.m. this morning here on March the 12th. It's kind of crazy to be talking about this in March, typically a January or February issue, but here we are nonetheless. So really no big changes from their 5 o'clock update. And by the way, you can find this on the Weather Service website. You just go to weather.gov, put in your zip code, and that's GOV, weather.gov. Put in your zip code, and then on the home page there, it'll have a little tab that says latest briefing. It's not very hard to find. So anyway, they outline the hazards. You have snow and an increasing confidence they talk about for considerable snow. And I'm really not going to get into the snow that much. I know a lot of people obviously either love the snow or you hate the snow, but I'm interested in the coastal flooding aspect. And it's interesting here that they really only talk about minor coastal flooding, so that's good, and only a few pockets of moderate flooding expected. So this is not, probably a top 5 event or anything like that. I haven't seen any mention made of life-threatening flooding situations, but beach erosion, damage to some piers and docks, and the usual vulnerable locations could have some issues. But this is not a, again, this is not like a hurricane coming or even something close to Sandy, and certainly not one of the worst nor'easters ever. That being said, there will be coastal flooding impacts, and that needs to be taken into consideration, and that's why I am interested in this system. And as well, we're also going to have strong winds, 40 to 50 miles per hour, and we have some very heavy snow, and the trees are starting to leaf. We could have some power outages. But with these two areas, though, the coastal flooding and the strong winds, the confidence is only medium at this time frame. It's not high yet. So we need to keep that in mind. This could change, okay? So the timing with this, Monday evening, with the heaviest precip, etc., the bulk of the storm, late Monday night and into Tuesday morning, and it'll probably go into early Tuesday afternoon as well. So just keep that in mind. Snowfall, what they're thinking of as of this morning, Sunday morning here, anywhere from near a foot around Toms River, half a foot near Atlantic City, and maybe exceeding a foot to close to 2 feet up here near New Brunswick, Newark, Secaucus, New Jersey, etc. And this is all within the National Weather Service Philadelphia and Mount Holly County warning area. So again, you can find these briefings online, pretty easy to find go to weather.gov and put in your zip code, as I mentioned before, and it's a great way to kind of understand what's happening. So moving on up the road a bit, this comes from the National Weather Service out of New York City in New York, New York. So Blizzard Watch, Winter Storm Watch, etc. gives you the overview. And here we have this nice matrix showing the hazards, all right, and the impacts. So very heavy snow, up to 2 feet is possible. And that's big, okay? Late Monday night into Tuesday. So most of this is going to be a daytime event. 35 to 50 mile per hour winds along the coastline in New Jersey, New York areas, the metro areas, and at the coast. And 60 miles an hour, eastern Long Island, southeast Connecticut. Potential for power outages. So as you move north and east a little bit into the New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island area and parts of New Jersey, these impacts become more substantial. So this is important. I'll let you read this for a second. And then, of course, the temperatures are going to plummet behind the system. And if we look at the snowfall in this area, the most likely snowfall, that's what they indicate here. Islip, for example, 18 inches. So roughly a pretty uniform area of 17 to 18 inches. So, if you think about how this is going to blow around, you're going to have areas with 8 inches of snow, and you're going to have areas with 30 inches of snow, and a lot of areas in between. And that's what's going to happen when this blows around. It's not just going to fall straight down. And for those of you that live up there, you should know this already. I'm down in the south, and I'm learning this. So just remember that these are the most likely snowfalls. People are going to have much higher and much lower depending on drifts and how everything sets up. Heading on up the coast towards Boston and that county warning area, the National Weather Service out of Boston. Obviously, major coastal storm is the headline here, and pretty much the effects very similar. There's their summary, and damaging wind gusts, that's a big deal, and they have high confidence with that. Moderate confidence in the coastal flooding issues. You think about areas along eastern Massachusetts that typically get hammered during these types of events. Hull, Situate, etc., Plymouth. Yeah, this is going to be a big problem as that east to northeast wind sends the ocean, and just that long fetch. I can't imagine having to deal with that in some cases multiple times during a winter. And here it is, going to happen again. And then really this is interesting, snowfall rates of 2 to 3 inches an hour. All of southern New England. That's amazing. I mean, somebody like me that's kind of into extreme weather events, that's pretty amazing. It really is. That'd be interesting to see. And then, of course, very hazardous travel. Again, I encourage you to go to weather.gov, put in that zip code, and you can see this for yourself. Very nice graphics that these people put together. The men and women at the National Weather Service. This is very well done. So take advantage of it, all right? You got to take advantage of this. And this is, again, the snowfall rates, 12 to 18 inches, pretty uniform. The Cape out here, the outer Cape especially, closer to the warmer air that's, certainly surrounding the ocean out here. Less snow amounts, Chatham, a few inches, and then the farther west you get, the higher those rates become. However, the wind out here along the Cape could be pretty nasty. And in fact, if we scroll down, you can see that. I wanted to show you. This is where the highest wind impacts will be the middle and outer Cape area plus the islands, approaching 70 miles per hour in some cases. Look at Block Island there. And then you think about Long Island Sound coming down this way. So you folks along portions of Rhode Island and the southeast Connecticut coastlines, along the islands out here and the Cape, it's going to be windy, and that's going to be problematic. So just be very careful out and about in this particular storm. And it's not over. There'll probably be another one after this. We'll talk about that later. All right, so what are my plans? Well, I'm going to head up into this mess and get some practice in setting out cameras. I'm also, of course, very interested in this kind of weather. It's a big ticket item. It's exciting. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing, but it is exciting, and I want to cover it. And again, it gives me a chance to test and keep practicing what I do. And so I'm going to go up tomorrow morning and probably put a camera here in Brigantine, and then another one perhaps out here on Long Beach Island somewhere. A lot of choices along that area. That's why it's called Long Beach Island. It's a pretty long island. And somewhere up here, probably near Belmar, going to put another camera so that I have a good chunk of the New Jersey coast covered with cameras right along the beach. The storm is going to come up this way, and they'll have good, strong easterly to northeasterly fetch coming in, and some pretty good wave action, especially down this area. So I want to monitor that. I just don't have time and the expense and everything and getting stuck up in New England. I would love to go up to Boston and to areas along the coast there, Gloucester and Scituate, etc., but I can't. So I got to do what I can, and considering that this region up here and even parts of northeast New Jersey here along the coastal area, they're going to get hammered pretty good. Maybe blizzard conditions down to this area, and I know some good people here in Belmar, so that's going to work in my favor as well. And we'll see what we can do, set these cameras up. But then I'm going to go, more than likely, to sort of hole myself up here to Secaucus somewhere. Secaucus, New Jersey, right across the river from Manhattan. And they are in the blizzard watch area. And then, I'll be at the hotel. I'm not going to drive around in it. But I can walk around. It'll be well lit. Of course, this is going to be during the day, mostly on Tuesday. But then I'll sort of do my coverage of it from a personal perspective in Secaucus, New Jersey, unless it looks like blizzard conditions will be more possible in this area. Then I may, shift further south so I can be closer to my cameras and pick them up when everything's finished on Wednesday and head back home to North Carolina. So there you go. I will stream those 3 cameras live on our Ustream channels. And, of course, that's available as links on hurricanetrack.com. Follow on Twitter at HurricaneTrack. I'll post all those links there as well. And I'll be posting video blogs and just updates, whatever, like here's what's happening here and now to our YouTube channel. So if you're not a subscriber, of course it's free on YouTube. Subscribe now, and you'll get those alerts when I post something. All right, so that's it. I wanted to give you just sort of my point of view on this, and hopefully you learned something about those PowerPoints. A lot of people in the Northeast know about winter weather. I'm not telling you anything you probably don't already know in terms of, oh yeah, we've been through nor'easters before. But these tools to really dig in and know more about what's expected from the Weather Service, I think, can be very helpful, and I hope you found that to be the case. All right, so I'll be live as I travel north tomorrow. I'll post that again on Twitter. You can follow along as I drive in the vehicle, and it'll be on. We'll see what's happening. And I'm also going to try to do some Facebook Live testing for a few hours up in Secaucus once I get there. So a lot going on. Again, I think the best thing to do is follow on Twitter, and everything I'm doing, I'll announce it there. So there you go. You can keep up to date with that. Thanks for tuning in, especially on a Sunday here. But this is a big ticket item. I wanted to talk about it. So thanks for listening. I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com. As always, thanks for tuning in. I will do a quick off-season normal weekly update tomorrow before I leave. And then from there, it's time for the big winter storm along the northeast coast.